drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life Podcast. My name's Jen. I'm your hostess for tonight and pretty much every night on this podcast, I guess. And with me, I have my co-host, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. How's your week been?
Not too bad, I guess. You know, again, same as the last couple weeks, you know, with the weather and whatnot, but still killing my sinuses. But other than that, you know.
Mm. Have you been able to kind of get up and get moving and get some stuff done?
Yeah, the last couple days I have. Well, not so much today. I couldn't sleep because we had a pretty heavy, like, pressure system kind of, you know, like it changed the humidity quite a bit over the last day, and so I had a hard time sleeping, so I slept, like today I slept most of the day, so that's, yeah.
Gotcha. You know, it happens. You have days like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten, this last week, I had kind of a burst of energy, I guess. I kind of go through these phases where I'll go a few weeks, you know, up to a month or two even. But I'll go through these times where I just don't want to do anything and everything is just overwhelming. So I don't do anything, you know, especially on Saturday and Sundays and stuff. I just sit around the house and just kind of be by myself and just do my thing. Well, I broke through that barrier like I tend to do on occasion. And so this week I determined that I was going to get the house in order and cook all week. So I cleaned the house, I did laundry, all the laundry in the house, and hung it up, so laundry has been put away. And I went downstairs and I went to the grocery store. I actually looked up recipes and went to the grocery store and bought stuff for specific recipes, not just random stuff.
Right.
I planned out meals for the week. And yeah, so far it's been pretty good. I've made some good stuff. I made some not so good stuff. Good recipe, bad execution.
Bad execution by you, or was the recipe not?
No, bad execution by me.
Okay.
It was a crock pot recipe, and I left it in the crock pot too long.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it got overcooked, and I mean, if this makes any sense to people who eat chicken out there, but it was juicy because it was made in the crock pot and stuff and tender, but dry. Yeah. It seemed like when you put it in your mouth, it was moist enough, but as you started chewing it, it was like really dry and you needed like liquid to swallow it. Yeah, it's really kind of an odd texture. And,
right.
And I know that's from overcooking, you know, so I overcooked that one.
Yeah.
But that's all right. You know, we live, we learn, we move on.
Yeah.
You know, so, but that's been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with, you know, my progress in getting things done. I did come to a realization that if I spend the entire day and don't get anything accomplished, I feel worse than if I actually do something.
Yeah.
Which to most people is like you know, but to me, who I've spent most of my life like this, where I need a lot of downtime and alone time, for me to really get to that point where when I have those days, I feel worse than better. I think that's a real moving point for me.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of fits why some people, like we've talked before about when you use like to-do lists, you know, like you put things you know you'll accomplish on there, even if it's just not so much the get out of bed, put on clean, you know what I mean, but put minor stuff like whatever. I don't like make dinner or just I don't know, something. Find
it's meaningful to you. That's all.
Yeah, something you know you'll accomplish, but still put it down on a list, because when you cross it off, you get that, you know, I did something, rather than going, God, like, wow, I really didn't do anything today. You can go, well, no, according to this list right here, I did 5 things or whatever, you know. It's like I posted a thing on Instagram last night, actually, that it was someone tagged me for it was like 5 random thoughts. And the first thought I put down was, I need to stop procrastinating. And, you know, our friend Nate Diggity posted afterwards, he was like, basically me making that list, you know, was basically, you know, completing the first thing, because I wasn't procrastinating on stuff anymore, you know. And,
right.
You know, I kind of laughed, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking that as all the wins, you know.
Exactly. Take all the wins when you can get them.
Yeah. You know, and the best part was, I mean, and we can kind of veer a little bit here for a second, in that, you know, I've talked on here about, you know, how I needed to get logo for the show done, and that's mainly what I was procrastinating on. That's what I was talking about on that post. And last night I finally got it done and got us submitted to iTunes.
Yay!
And so I want to, you know, let everybody know you should be able to find us now on iTunes. We're listed under The Crazy Life, and there's, well, when this goes up, this should go right to iTunes. So, you know, there should be 5 or 6 episodes depending on how quickly it hits and everything. So yeah, you can find us on there now and on Stitcher and all that. And I would like to say, if you do find us on there, to please share. Like on Stitcher, there's like a thumb thing or whatever that's like where you can share it on Twitter or Facebook or something like that. And please do that, because the more that you share, you kind of move up a list, and then you can get more visibility that way, so we can get more people to listen. And on iTunes, the more like ratings and reviews you get, you can get into like the new and noteworthy section and different stuff on iTunes. Both ways it helps us just gain visibility. So if, you know, and subscribe, like if you can. So yeah, there's that bit of business to get out of the way.
Please do. And now that we're on Stitcher and iTunes, all of those podcast apps and stuff that you have where you can subscribe and download, you should be able to find us on all of that stuff now. So it should make it much easier for you to listen.
Right. Or if you need to, you know, with each episode, I'll still be posting, like, over on the Salty Language Twitter and on my Twitter, and Jen's been retweeting it on her Twitter or Facebook, that, you know, a direct link to the episode as well, if you just want to stream it rather than that. Or you can always go to our website, because there's a player on the website, if you just want to listen that way.
Very true. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys. You know, it's one of those things that it can sound disingenuous or even sarcastic when someone can say that they value you, they don't know you. But I will say that I truly do value everybody that's out there, because I know how difficult it is for us to put one foot in front of the other and leave the door, you know, leave the comfort of our homes, step outside the world, even if it's just listening to other people, connecting. It's so important, and I appreciate you tuning in and listening and connecting with us, because it does help us, even if you're not actively communicating with us, which is perfectly fine. just by listening and us knowing you're out there and feeling accountable for content and accountable for our, our promises that we make to you makes a huge difference in our lives. And hopefully we can make a difference in yours, even if it's just kind of break you free from your regular day for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. And, as always, we appreciate, comments and whatnot. And again, if you'd like to, iTunes does have, the review or rating and review thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the more like 5-star ones you get, it helps boost, but, be honest. If you don't think it's a 5-star show, then, don't rate it 5-star.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And constructive criticism, always welcome.
Mm-hmm.
We love to hear what you guys like, what you don't like, and so we can make sure that we're giving you the best podcast we can.
Yep. So, all right, well, I think that takes care of business there. I just wanted to throw that in there. It's kind of, because I know that was, I can't remember, it seems like that might have been one of my challenges for one of the weeks or whatever that I put on myself.
Yes, it was. It's been a challenge for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, but I wanted to,
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to get through that and get that done and, kind of conquer the fear of the white page and get the logo together.
Yeah.
Those are big steps. Those are huge.
Yeah, and I'm really happy with, kind of how the final arrangement on it and stuff was. I had to move some stuff around for,
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you're doing design stuff because you have to, a lot of times you can't just type something and go, oh, this is, it's perfect. You have to, move text around. Sometimes it's really tiny, like it's little stuff like just the space between letters. You have to, close them in so that they don't, because there's some typefaces for some reason that like certain letters, there'll be a huge gap between them. So you have to then go in yourself and close that gap just because otherwise when you look at it, it's really off-putting. And, I had to do that for some of the spacing and stuff. So it was, it was kind of fun to get back into that and also a pain in the ass because even though it seems and looks really simple, stuff like that always is a pain in the butt.
Right. And stuff that I have no clue how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always envious and have a lot of admiration for people who can, have the eye to see that type of detail.
Yeah.
Because this is not me. I don't do details very well. As I've been told many, many times in business reviews. But
that's another topic.
We'll pass that one up for today.
Right.
Actually, I kind of wanted to talk about today something that unfortunately does go hand in hand a lot of times with mental illness, and that's death. I hate even saying the word. It's a sucky word. It's a sucky experience for everyone involved other than the person who died, because hopefully they're in a much better place, regardless of how you feel about whether there's life after death or, heaven, hell, or just you go into the ground and it's peaceful. Yeah. Regardless of the outcome, for those that are left living, it's extra hard. And I think, we've both had some pretty intimate experiences with death. What kind of got me started along this path of thought is not really morbid, which is a good thing. I'm doing good. So those of you who, if anyone's concerned, I'm doing good. I haven't been thinking about my own death, which is a good thing.
Right.
But I did watch a show. Someone turned me onto this show. It's called, hold on. Let me bring up the name so I'm getting it right. It's called Dead Like Me.
Oh, right.
And it's a TV series from 2003 and 2004. And it's really interesting. It's about a young girl who dies and becomes a reaper. And she's, part of a reaping group of 4 people, and then there's a leader of it, and they're all reapers, and their job is to get 2 people right as they die and free their souls so that they're not trapped in a dead body, basically. So it's kind of it's really kind of tongue-in-cheek, and it is a comedy, so it's not very serious, even though it deals with serious topics. And some of the points they bring up are very interesting. So I definitely recommend watching for those of you out there. Dig it up. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix or not. I know it's online, a few different places you can get it. Showbox and all that good stuff have it. So, but if you get a chance, definitely, give it a watch. It's pretty entertaining. But that kind of got my mind thinking about the comedy and tragedy that is death, and how we handle it, and how everybody kind of handles it in their own way. I mean, Brian, I know you handle it a lot of times with humor and jokes.
Yeah,
that's kind of how you get through it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I handle anything that hits me pretty dark.
And that's kind of before I met you, I didn't have that skill set, and you and your family really brought that into my life, and I've been all the better for it. That's for sure. Being able to laugh at things, especially when it's hard and dark and painful, being able to kind of smile through it and see the humor in the little stuff and be able to kind of laugh and lighten the mood, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I thought we could kind of talk a little bit about how we cope with death, and how we kind of keep ourselves away from that dark door that a lot of times can appear when you're kind of trapped in your own head and in your own spaces.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely been there plenty of times, and like you said earlier, I'll point out now I'm not anywhere near that at this point, kind of a thing. But it's been a struggle at various points in my life to not see taking your own life kind of as a release or the exit, because sometimes it seems like the only open door, basically, or that'd be the only exit, I guess, is, a better way of putting it.
It can be enticing.
Yeah, it's, and it's tough because, there's so much stigma on it about how it's selfish and such, like after, again, I'll go back and cite, like after Robin Williams killed himself, and so many people talked about how selfish it was and stuff, and it's like you don't understand. You can't understand what it's like unless you're actually in that. You get so dark that you lose all feeling of hope, and it's such a struggle that the best I can do is picture every day you get up and someone sits on your chest. Then everything you do, someone's walking behind you and either pushing your shoulders down and, throwing doubt at you the whole time. It's just it beats you up so bad and you can only get up so many times. Like, I know everyone's got the, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up, and it's like, yeah, that's great. Except realistically, people don't get up after a while. You know what I mean? At some point, your body fails you. Your mind cannot get you back up, And this can be kind of the way depression hits people, is that, except it's kind of the opposite. It's more that it isn't that your mind, it's more that your mind is so beat up that your body can't, you just can't find your way out of it. And the reason I don't feel that it's selfish like this and such is that it's, at that point, you're so far gone that you're really not. I don't know. It's weird because it almost feels selfish for people to want you to continue living that way.
That's what I was going to say too. Yeah.
Like I've explained to somebody, because someone's like, I don't see how you could see that as an out. And I'm like, well, picture this. I'm 36. I'll be 37 in a few months. I've fought with depression since I was at least 12 years old. 2/3 of my life now I've been fighting this. Various times I've been on the, at the edge of thinking, or doing something stupid. And if I live to normal life expectancy, I've still got 30 or so years more of this. You know what I mean? Like, you can fight it and all this, but it's a constant struggle. There's no, like, medicine that just, you wake up tomorrow and, oh, hey, I'm great, it's perfect, unless you're, like, severely medicated.
Right.
So, anyway, with all that, though, it's like, there's that angle to it, and then there's the angle of, I've fought depression for a long time, and it'll be 10 years ago this October that I lost my dad. And this is easily the hardest thing for me to deal with. And I was already in not a great place at that time, and that, I think, really, really kind of pushed me over the edge. And had it not been for being able to still laugh at things and kind of the support system around me, that probably wouldn't have turned out well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the important aspect to focus on, is the people you surround yourself with, and the positivity and the humor that you can face things with gives you power over those feelings, and gets you out of your own head, gets you out of your own space, helps you understand your self-worth, and also can keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
So I think perspective's very important.
Mm.
And it's very easy to get robbed of your perspective.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well,
and people are constantly robbing you of your perspective without meaning to also. When they try to give you perspective, they're actually, like, a perfect example is this, and I'll go back to this countless times. Brian Johnson, who a lot of you may know from Tell 'em Steve Dave, suffers from depression, has for a very long time. And every time he would tell people he's having a bad go of things, they would always go, oh, it could be worse. And his response eventually became, just because it could be worse doesn't mean it doesn't suck right now. And he's 100% right. And so when people give you that, they're trying to go, hey, at least you got a roof over your head, food in your belly. And they're right. Totally right. Hashtag blessed. But at the same time, there's all the other stuff that you're dealing with that severely just sucks. Whether it's, you lost someone or you're in a bad way yourself. Either way, it's, like I said, they're trying to give you perspective, but at the same time, they're kind of poo-pooing your actual perspective.
Exactly. I mean, I think, I was very close with your father as well. And, obviously it affected me differently, as deaths do,
Sure.
And just so you know, not just you, I'm meaning the figurative you, the world. I think everybody goes through their own mourning and is entitled to how they're going to face death, whether it's their own or somebody else's, in their own way. And they're entitled to their feelings, and they're entitled to handle it, however they need to. But I think the big thing to keep in mind during all of that is not just yourself, but others around you. And you want to make sure that it's that combination between doing what you need to do, but also making sure that you don't make it harder for somebody else either.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to find that balance.
Right. Well, like the day my dad died, I was trying to do everything I could to make sure my mom had everything she needed, and I was trying to be strong for her. And we had all the family over at the house, and I kept excusing myself to go to a bathroom that was in our basement, and I would basically go down there and just sob for 3 or 4 minutes, get myself together, and come back upstairs. And I did this throughout the whole day. Because I was fighting with that and rage and, all the stuff you fight with after death,
Yeah,
So,
after someone you're close to dies.
Yep.
I also remember you and your nephew making very inappropriate jokes, which were appropriate for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and again, so anyone doesn't, it's like my dad would have been totally on board.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because my dad had a very inappropriate sense of humor.
Exactly. And I think that was the key. You know, the one thing he told me, because I remember when we found out that he was dying, and it was terminal, and that's a fabulous word, by the way, everybody. Terminal. What the hell does terminal mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it basically means the end is there.
Yeah.
The end is there for everybody, all the time. You know, at any point, whether we take our own lives or somebody takes our lives or things can happen, whatever.
Well,
we're all terminal in some way.
The difference is that this one allows medical professionals to put an educated guess on the time, whereas normally we don't have a clock. So
True.
Yeah.
So regardless, anyway, so we found out the day that he was terminal, and obviously we were all upset and crying, of course, and he was not very upset. And so I asked him, I said, you know, can I ask, you know, why you're not a little bit more upset? I would think you would be upset. And he said, you know, I know what's going to happen to me. You guys don't know life without me. I understand you guys being upset because you don't know what it's going to be like live in a world without me there. He's like, but it's been set for me. I have no other options. You know, this is it.
Yep.
So I can either face it and deal with it, you know, and move through it, or, you know, or not. Regardless, he's like, it's gonna happen. So he kind of made his own piece to it, and that got me thinking a little bit about things, and that really put in perspective. Speaking of perspective, that really put in perspective for me, really how you live your life and how you die are choices. And it's choices that we make every day. And how we choose to live our lives and how we choose to go through every day, it really it's interesting. It gives you more, we have more control than we think we do, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, even in his case, where as you get closer, you have less and less control over a lot of it. But he kept his mindset. And as a result, even though it was difficult for him to walk, he was in a lot of pain, he never stopped getting up himself to go to the bathroom. He would not concede to a bedpan or diapers or anything, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. It was still, as long as I can get up and walk to the bathroom, I will get up and walk to the bathroom. And he did, up until the night he died. And
yes, he did.
And, you know, that mindset, it's interesting because I look back at it and it's like, I didn't realize that even though it was harder than hell for me to process the whole time, that I never processed it as a person with depression, basically. You know, like that came later. During that time, it was essentially putting everything that was me on hold. You know, almost like I didn't exist for a year and a half almost. You know, so it became more about him. It was all about him. And plus, how could I sit there and bitch about anything when he's dying? Like, we're medicating him just so that he can sit there and be comfortable. You know what I mean? It's like how can I bitch about anything, you know, when he's sitting there and, you know, and it's like, yeah, it kind of forced perspective during that time, you know?
Exactly. So it's one of those, it's interesting, you know, and I know I've said that like a million times so far this episode, but it's so hard for me to kind of put into words when you get inside your head, especially with mental illness and stuff, which traps you in your head. You lose perspective. You lose a lot of connection with everybody around you, and you it becomes very isolating. You feel very lonely, and it gets very dark. But all of a sudden, when you introduce other people and other people that you find that you care about, it's not quite as dark, and the more you can connect with people, connect with the world, all of a sudden it's not quite as bad. It doesn't feel quite as painful as it did.
Right.
So it's really kind of an interesting lesson, I guess, a life lesson that I ended up learning going through all of that. And, I want to share with everybody, because Brian kind of mentioned the fact that he would always, his dad would always make sure he got up, and he always would go through the normal motions. Whatever he could do, he did. But not only did he do it, he was still aware of the people around him, and he did it with a plume. He would... I remember very distinctly one time that he had to go to the bathroom, couldn't stand up very straight, couldn't walk very well. So Brian's mother was helping him, and he had his hands on her shoulders. So they started walking, and we were watching, and, it's very poignant, very sad moment. And he starts to congo and starts singing and starts doing a little dance. And so he congos all the way to the bathroom. Couldn't do much. His little bony butt couldn't handle much. But he would shake his little hips, and he was, just boogieing himself right over her. And it really, again, is one of those things that helps you put perspective. I mean, we started cracking up laughing. Yeah. It was the funniest thing, seeing this little bony man just shaking his tush as he's going to do his thing.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those moments. It's like, you can get lost in the sadness. You can get lost in the darkness, in the isolation and the loneliness. But connecting and laughing and finding that humor, and even the bleakest moments, if you can find a way to laugh, it makes everything so much easier.
That's why, a few episodes ago when we talk about social media, that's where I think, especially for me, like Twitter is at its best, is that when I'm down, I can find stuff that makes me laugh on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I can always find stuff that makes me laugh on there, because there's so many funny people, or people that share sense of humor or whatever. And it isn't even that it's like that you post, oh, hey, cheer me up. It's just that, I have lists on there, and I'll just go to one of my lists because I know it's a bunch of people that aren't going to be posting a lot of sad or depressing things. They're just out for the laugh kind of a thing. So, and it helps sometimes, like when you're just at that low and you need that laugh,
Exactly. And I'd like us all to hearken back in our memories to when we were little and we watched Mary Poppins. How fabulous is the song, I Love to Laugh? Do you remember that, Brian?
I don't, actually. I'll be honest, I haven't watched Mary Poppins, aside from when I worked at video stores, when someone randomly put it in. I haven't watched that movie since I was a little kid.
Oh my gosh, it's fabulous. Well, just to kind of, because... Oh, hold on. Stupid pop-ups.
I'm more of a... Like, I tend to cite, Bare Naked Ladies' Humor of the Situation.
Which is, a great one.
For me,
Yeah. And I think it's a great song for everybody, Yeah. The Humor of the Situation, look that one up, get it, download that one, because that one's, it does speak volumes.
Yeah, and it's very, like I said, it's very much, in a lot of ways, how I look at the world,
Yeah. And but the song that I was referring to for Mary Poppins, the lyrics are, it's I love to laugh, loud and long and clear, I love to laugh. It's getting worse every year. The more I laugh, the more I feel glee, and the more the glee, the more merrier me. It's embarrassing the more I'm merrier me. Some people laugh through their noses, sounding like this. Some people laugh through their teeth, for goodness sakes. Not all attractive to my way of thinking. Some laugh fast, some only blast. Others, they twitter like birds, as bad as he. So it's kind of a silly song, and it's a funny song, but it kind of speaks to the fact that we all find different things funny. We all laugh differently. We all are going to have our own different takes on stuff. But it's all important. Like, we have to laugh. We have to fill ourselves with glee and merriment. And nothing beats the darkness and the shadows and the aloneness as laughter. I mean, it's so big.
I have to me, I think this is a funny juxtaposition.
Yeah.
In that the whole time you were reading those lyrics, I was picturing the Joker reading them. And then you make the comments about how laughter can fight the darkness, the shadows, things that are associated with Batman. Because at first I'm just picturing the Joker just walking along and, saying those things, and some laugh like this, and he, and others,
right.
Like I'm picturing Cesar Romero doing the, his laugh, and then in another part you get the Mark Hamill belly laugh from the, the animated series. It's just, I'm telling you, if someone hasn't done that, that's something somebody should put together.
Exactly.
Because it feels like something that could have been right out of Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Where he's constantly comparing the juxtaposition of Batman and himself,
Yes. It's all about the humor of the situation and the humor in life and the humor in death.
Yeah.
As dark as it seems. And
well, it's, again, I'll use a Bare Naked Ladies line is, I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral, and I have, and, plenty of times.
Oh, gosh. I mean, shoot, at your dad's funeral, he was wearing Mickey Mouse ears in the casket.
Well, he wasn't. They were in the casket. Yeah, okay. Somebody put him in there, and from the one angle, it looked like he was wearing them.
Exactly.
Which was kind of funny.
We've been to funerals with the officiant was in an electric wheelchair, which, excuse me, folks, if you hear me kind of laughing a little bit, I'm not laughing at the fact that she was in a wheelchair. That is what it is, and, it's his own thing. I'm laughing because it was an electric wheelchair and there's a little ramp going down to the area. So as we're all quiet waiting, she pulls up to the front to give, her eulogy and all that stuff. And all you hear is, as she's zooming up front. So a whole quiet area with a casket in front of us. We're all sad and quiet and, some crying.
Right.
Everybody's in very, sad states. And you see her, and she kind of does a little turn at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
again, it's you have to laugh. I mean, it was just this crazy situation.
And I'll say this: what it becomes is what's called a giggle loop. And if you don't know what a giggle loop is, I highly suggest. I'll put a link in the show notes, but I highly suggest. First of all, if you've never watched the TV show Coupling, the British version, you should. It wasn't. I don't know if it still is. It was in iTunes. There's 3 seasons of it, and they're all half an hour episodes. You can blow through them, and they're only 8 or 10 episodes a season. You can blow through it. But one of the episodes shows that it's kind of the idea that when it's like stacking glasses. The more each you start laughing at something, and then you can contain it. But then you'll giggle a little bit more, so you stack a second glass, basically, or someone else starts laughing, so you keep adding glasses. Eventually, the whole tower of glasses is going to fall down, and you're just going to erupt at the wrong time, basically. And that's what this became, is you had to fight it because, busting out laughing is going to be heavily frowned on by most people. But, like you said before, there was a moment at my niece's funeral, with the Chinese lantern getting stuck in a tree, And I was like, if this was my funeral, that'd be so symbolic. It's just, yeah, there it is. Or I split my pants at your grandma's funeral.
Oh, yeah, we're not glossing over this one, folks.
Yeah, I wasn't going to. I've told the story plenty of times.
We were brand new pair of pants. He has brand new pair of pants, fresh out. Takes the tags right off of them, puts them on. We go. Get to the church, and it's a Catholic funeral, so it's a stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. The rules. So we're standing there, very sad, obviously. Again, crying. Dad on one side, Brian on the other side. And we're getting ready. The casket leaves the church, and we're filing out behind. And Brian leans over to me. He's like, "Check out my butt." Except he didn't say butt, shall we say?
No.
And I turn and look at him like, not really the most appropriate place.
Hey, I was having a good butt day. No. Sorry.
And he's like, "No, I think I split my pants." So like, oh.
Right, because the first time I got into the car, your dad's car kind of set low, and as I got into the back, I thought I heard, like that tearing sound. So, I wanted you to check because I'm thinking that my butt's hanging out and,
Right. So we're walking, and so he, walks in front of me. So I can kind of glance down, and I didn't really see anything. So, he comes back, and I tell him, I think you're good. Don't worry about it. We're fine. So we get to the car, and when he goes to get in the car, it was very audible. Like, we all heard it.
Yeah. Now the first time was when we were heading to the church, and then the second time we were heading to the graveside service.
Exactly.
And
so we're
as I get into the car, like she said, it was just this audible tear, and I'm like, and I looked at her and I was like, I know I just split my pants. Like I couldn't feel it, but there's no way it wasn't this time.
Right. So we're like, all right. So what do you do in this situation? Because, it's my grandmother. I need to go to the graveside service. We're not even in a car that's ours, or, not even my car. We're in my dad's car. So we're in the back of a car. We have no way out whatsoever. We're stuck. So we're all right. So he decides he's just going to stand in the very, very back and just basically keep his front to everybody at all times. Mm-hmm. And so I go up into the casket, and we do the graveside service and stuff. So we get back into the car, and my family does a big brunch afterwards. So we go the church service, the graveside service, and then we have a meet and greet food thing at a hall nearby or whatever for everybody. So we kind of opted out, and my brother is not the most intuitive person on the face of the planet. So we get back into the car, and I asked my dad to take us back to my car, that we're just going to skip the brunch, and we're going to skip the food and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, why?" I said, "Well, we're experiencing a wardrobe malfunction." And my brother's like, "Wardrobe malfunction? What's that mean?" My dad picks up on the cue right away, and he's like, "No problem. Take you right back to the car.
Yep.
We'll, don't worry about it." And stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, eventually we kind of explained to my brother, include him in what was going on. Get back to the car. And at this point, we're just both kind of just tired and whatever. But halfway home, I start laughing. And I could not stop laughing until we pulled into the driveway. And even then, I couldn't stop laughing. I had tears streaming down my face. It was by far one of the best laughs I had had in weeks. And, and thankfully, Brian's such a good sport that he completely understood, went along with it and whatever, didn't get, offended, whatever. But, I mean, it's just one of those situations in life that, especially for someone who has anxiety, especially for someone who has depression. I mean, something like that could be absolutely mortifying on the best day to the best person, let alone someone who's handling all this other stuff.
I'll say this: if I would have had to have gone to the what do you call it, the
brunch or
the
whatever.
brunch, it would have bothered me. But honestly, at that point, I probably would have just had, because we discussed swinging by, like, a store and grabbing, so I could grab another pair of pants or something. And it's like, I would have done something like that. Just grab a pair of jeans somewhere or something, something I'll wear again or whatever. But, I will say this, that on top of all this, the lesson that I want everyone to take away from this is, if you're wearing dark breeches, make sure you wear dark under breeches. So if you split your pants, as luckily that day I was wearing dark under breeches, so it wasn't like I was wearing like red ones or something and then black pants to where you could see.
Exactly. As you moved, it was like
luckily, luckily it kind of blended in. So there's your lesson: is match your underpants to your other pants, so that if you split the one, you're still good.
Exactly. If you're going commando, you're just out of luck.
Well, yeah, it's
you're just stuck.
not much you can do at that point. Yeah.
But needless to say, that's the type of stuff in life is going to be difficult, and you're going to go through difficult things and sad things and heavy things. And I think we both have found through the years that the more humor you can find in the, try to share it when you can. Obviously, you got to be appropriate.
Yeah. Now, I will say the one thing I found about this kind of mentality is that it's very hard to share with people at a lot of times. Because the stuff that'll make me laugh. A great example, again, I go back to that Chinese lantern. Like, that, I could have probably just cracked up at that, and I knew you were the only one who was probably going to get why that was funny to me. Because it was like the little engine that could, while all the rest flew to their glory, and then this one was just like, I think I can, maybe not, and it was just the defeatist of it, it was like, oh, just, it's what I said, I find humor in the weirdest little things, and that's what endears me to people, is when they also find that kind of humor, But I could also, a lot of people there would not have, because of the circumstances and such, So I'm clearly not going to run around, but did you guys see,
Right. So we definitely, we encourage you to use decorum.
Right.
As you are finding the humor in the little things. Use decorum and keep good sense about the whole thing.
And death, just like anything else, don't tell other people how they have to process it, or they should or shouldn't process it. Or some people need a week off of work when they lose a parent. Other people can go play on Monday Night Football the next night and have one of the best games of their career, which would be Brett Favre. If you're not familiar, he day after his dad died went and played on Monday Night Football, and I can't remember, he had an amazing football game though. Michael Jordan won a championship after his dad was murdered. It's things that a lot of people would be like, how can somebody do that, and we all process it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been times when I literally had to work. Like, I needed to work. Not because I was being forced to work, but I needed the consistency of the going in, focusing on something else, getting something accomplished. I needed to have that release to get outside my own thoughts, because it was all consuming.
Well, sure, because, the one thing a lot of people they struggle with is not becoming consumed or obsessed with those feelings. Sometimes you have to have somebody. Well, the day my dad died, I went bowling, and a lot of people were, how in the hell could you, and I'm like, because first of all, my dad loved bowling. And second of all, I love bowling, and I needed that distraction. Plus, I knew the league we were in, it was a place where it was a safe place. Everybody there had met my dad. They knew him. It was one of those where everybody was going to be, like, supportive. It wasn't going to be a group where I was going to be like, why are you here? Kind of a thing. It was everybody, and I'm like, I can't think of a better way to honor my dad, who bowled for a lot of years in his life, than to go out and bowl. It's just kind of a,
Exactly. And everybody you have your own reasons for doing what you need to do to kind of get through it. and it's not for anyone else to judge.
No.
You know what? And it's the same thing with like we talked about, kind of laughing at the little situations and stuff like that. It's okay. I think that's the other message. It's okay to laugh when something's funny.
Yeah.
Just because it may not be appropriate, obviously, again, use decorum, gear your reaction to the crowd you are with. But if something is funny, laugh at it. You are not forced to cry continuously days on end when someone dies and when you're facing death.
It was like I told my aunt the day my dad died, and me and my nephew were cracking jokes, and she's like, your father's blah, not even cold in the ground, blah, that kind of bullshit, or baloney, whoops. And I she's giving me that number, and I'm like, how dare you rob me of the ability to have a laugh when I've just lost the person I'm closest to in this world. Like, how dare you? Like, you're going to tell me how I should grieve. Like,
right.
He's your brother-in-law, It's my dad. I'm sorry, but on the hierarchy, you know what I mean? Like, you can get another brother-in-law pretty easily. It's not that high. In fact, you have another one at the moment,
And it's not even about that. It's not even about, judging you, the level of hierarchy of
Well, no, I know. I'm
pain.
just meaning it more as though, like, you're telling me how I should feel right now, and it's like, how dare you?
Right, exactly. You can't tell someone else how to feel. You can't tell someone else how to react. You can't, force them to abide by what you feel is the right way to do something.
Yeah.
No, life doesn't work that way. You can't pigeon people into boxes like that.
Yeah.
And you can't pigeon your own self into a box.
Right. And actually, that's something I meant to bring up before, and I didn't, and that's a great point, because this actually goes back to, my niece, and that everybody around me was, like, super, super sad, and I was sad that she was gone. I felt bad for my brother-in-law and sister and my nieces and nephews, and I felt bad for everybody who felt that loss. But I just didn't have, like, I felt indifferent, and I beat myself. I talked to you about this, and I talked to, Tony, my best friend, and I talked to various other people, and I was just like, I just don't have a real feeling about this, and I felt bad that I didn't feel bad, basically, and it's like, I'm putting guilt on myself because I feel that I should have these feelings other people have, and it's like, instead I should just be like, I just don't have these feelings. It's okay, Now, don't get me wrong. I had somebody point out to me that maybe part of the reason is because I've been dealing with depression so long that my baseline might be so high, basically, that I'm sad enough that this normally would rank on my scale, but I because I've been dealing with this other so long that maybe I just don't notice it. And there's a possibility to that, and if so, obviously that's awful. That's where depression, another way it sucks. But at the same time, it's like, it's just okay to feel how you feel, even if it's indifference. Don't get me wrong. Again, I've gone out of my way to point out how you should never strive for indifference, and any chance you should get to run the other way, you should always run the other way.
Right.
I'd rather have you super angry at me than indifferent with me. It's kind of the parent being mad versus disappointed in you, So, yeah, it's... but indifference is okay. Sometimes you just feel indifferent. It just happens in life. Even if something as simple as, what do you want for dinner? And you're just like, nothing really. Just nothing's going to do it for me tonight. You're just totally indifferent to something. And that's okay sometimes,
When it comes, and you just kind of have to accept where you're at and how you're dealing with it, and just deal with it. I mean, there's two things that people have a tendency to do so much, with, especially around death and sadness and stuff, is one, force themselves to cry so much they get sick.
Yeah.
And then feel guilty when they stop crying.
Yeah.
because, it's like, I need to feel sadder.
Yeah.
So then you listen to music, or you look at pictures, or you like almost force yourself to be as sad as you possibly can be.
Yeah.
Because you feel like that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's not how we, don't force that. If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like laughing, laugh.
Yeah.
Like
I said, the only thing you have to be careful of is just that it doesn't become an obsession, or that is, that basically, and even if you're not someone who's clinically depressed, doesn't mean you can't run through a pretty rough patch of depression.
Exactly.
I mean, you very much. I mean, anyone who's lost anybody or anything, should know that already. But sometimes you don't quite realize it. That again, it's okay. Sometimes it just takes a while to. I mean, I'll be dead honest with you. I see people online all the time, and posting about how they lost their mom or their dad and something, and it breaks your heart. And then you see them, and they're still in that. Well, they say time heals, and I'm going, man, I'm at 10 years, and it don't. It doesn't change at all. I even talking at points about this with my dad, and we have Father's Day this weekend, and it's the hardest days of the year for me are the Father's Day, my dad's birthday, and the day he died. I just, those are days I have a hard time being happy on. It's just how it's going to be. And some of that's gotten a little better, but the hurt, I haven't been able to talk to my dad in 10 years. Again, I'm 36. I feel like, I'm at a fourth of my life now almost. I haven't had my dad. It's so weird to put that into a number, So, and I know there's people who,
there's always people who had it worse.
Yeah.
So we're not saying that.
Lost their dad or mom or whatever when they were, young or whatever, worse circumstance. I get all that, and I feel for everybody who has. I'm just explaining mine.
Well, when I was talking to a friend of mine, she was pregnant and she lost the child. I think I've mentioned her before.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and she said the same thing. She's like, yeah, I wish people would just stop saying it gets better.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's never going to get better.
Yeah, I looked at her. I'm like, I'll be honest with you. The pain will always be there.
Yeah.
But every day you'll learn how to live with it more.
Yeah.
I said, that's what gets easier, is it gets, not the pain gets any less. It's, you can learn to live with it, and it slowly becomes part of you, and it becomes more of a, not necessarily natural state, but it becomes more of a regular state.
Yeah.
It's just like you've added another piece of luggage to the baggage of your life.
Yeah.
And you just get more comfortable carrying it, and pretty soon it doesn't weigh as much, or it doesn't feel like it weighs as much.
Yeah.
It still weighs,
yeah,
just as much, but it doesn't feel like it because you've grown and you've become stronger and you learned how to deal with it and handle it.
Right. And like, and to go back to the word we've said a bunch tonight, when you, perspective means a lot to it too. And I don't mean other people's perspective, using other people's examples as perspective as much as, again, I just made a comment that, like, it's almost been a fourth of my life that I didn't have my dad. Well, I also had him for 25 years, or 26 years, almost 27. You know what I mean? So it's,
right.
Well, no, it was 27 because he died after my birthday. So it was, I had him for 27 years. And that's the way to look at it. It's one of those, it's, even though I lost and it hurts and that hole just will never really heal, it's more of putting more stock in the things that you do remember and such. And that's where your perspective, it's hard sometimes to switch that, but that's the perspective you need in that point. That's where, if you look at the other side of things, the how long you haven't had him, or it's been this or it's been that, that's where it kind of picks at that hole. It's like picking a scab almost versus just leaving it go. And, you may have a big scar, but,
Right. But it can heal.
Yeah.
It'll always be there, but it can heal.
So we should probably move to, like the, what do you call it? The challenges or whatnot for the week.
I was just going to say that, so I've been thinking, and I've been trying to figure out what my challenge should be for this week. because I'm getting a lot of the house stuff in order. I'm going for my walks on a fairly consistent basis. So, I'm trying to think. I know that there's bigger challenges out there for me. You know what I think my challenge should be? My challenge, I've been really struggling with when I get frustrated and I get surge of emotion, I speak out too much. It's like I don't think, I just kind of speak.
Yeah.
You know, and especially when I'm in work environments where, and it's not inappropriate,
Yeah.
but I just get sarcastic.
Right.
And you get these little
You're going to get that.
sarcastic.
Yeah,
Huh? Go ahead.
you're going to get that reputation that I always had, you know,
Yeah.
to where it's like, you know, if you just shut your mouth once in a while, you'd probably move up in the company and be like, yeah, well, I guess I'm not moving up in the company because I'm not going to shut up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be my challenge, is to kind of focus on connecting with people around me, paying attention to where they're at and how they're feeling, and getting outside my own head and really gauging the situation, not just acting out what I feel.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
fair.
a big one for this week.
Yeah.
So there we go. How about you, sir?
Well, I'll start with a follow-up to last week. Last week, you challenged me to sign up for one of the mental illness dating or something like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of got to thinking about it a little bit. And Heno actually chimed in on this, and I kind of agree with what he said. And I think and I've looked at stuff online a little bit, and I kind of feel in the same way that I don't think it's for the best.
Okay.
Kind of like, I can't remember Heno's quote. Do you remember it? What he said to me? Like, he sent it to both, or at least me. I think he sent it to both of us. I can't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically when you have, you know, what is it? Like, two broken things don't fix something, or
Oh, yes.
You know, basically two wrongs don't make a right concept, you know, except that you're not calling people wrong. It's just when you have two people that are broken, it's very difficult to get something good out of it.
Two sticks don't always equal a well.
There it is. Yep. And I agree with that. And like I said, I found a decent amount of stuff online that kind of supports that thought process.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you don't, you know, like one person said, generally somebody who's got mental illness needs someone to kind of balance their crazy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone to just go, whoa, 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 whoa. This, you know, to give them the perspective or what have you. If you have two people who happen to suffer from depression, as I mentioned on our show, you know, you could have a wicked spiral.
Right.
So
Feed each other's anxieties and or depressions, yeah.
And that's the that's the reason I'm setting that one aside. If it was just as far as signing up for a dating site, I've already, you know, I'm already on a few, so, you know, I've already shown that that's not the problem.
Right. You want to tell the world what sites you're on so they can look you up?
No. No, that's fine.
All right, what's going to be your challenge?
I don't need these star bangers coming after me, you know?
Yeah, I know, right?
I think I'm going to kind of do a twofold thing here a little bit, because one is a similar one to the one I've had, which was I wanted to do a logo for this show. In Salty Language, we do kind of an interview show, not every week, but, you know, a lot of times we'll put out one a week called The Enthusiasts, and I still haven't done a logo for that, so I think that's next on my docket, is to get a logo designed for that, or album art, so that, you know, when we put those shows up, it'll actually say, you know, The Enthusiasts, so that there's a little differential there, and maybe it'll work for a t-shirt later or something. And also, I'm going to try to get myself... I'm going to try to get myself on at least, you know, exercise bike or something like that, and, you know, get myself moving a little bit, because that's something I certainly need to do.
Might I suggest a walk around the block?
Yeah, well, the way it's been raining.
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah. You know,
Hands in the rain.
I do want to point out one other thing, since I'm going to claim all my victories this week. You know, I successfully finished a to-do list. I got album art for the show done. And I actually also finished a book this week, which, as I posted on Twitter, shouldn't be a big victory. But and you know as well as anybody that in the last 5 years I've probably finished 2 books, 3 books. You know, I've got a bunch of books. A. B, I have a bunch of books I haven't finished. Like I've read half of or a third of. Like I went back to A Briefer History of Time by Stephen Hawking, and I have a third of it read. And it's like, why did I just stop reading? You know, I just stopped. So I'm trying to focus on that. And over at on Salty Language, we're kind of starting a book club. So we're gonna kind of do that, and I think we're gonna be reading Fight Club because none of us have read Fight Club. So we're gonna go with that, and I shouldn't be talking about it, obviously, but enough of that. So anyway, I'm taking that victory. So
heck yeah.
Also, I'll say the book, actually. It's by a guy named Adam Resnick, and it's called Will Not Attend. And he's just got, I told you about this the other day, actually, but he's a writer who very much has written stuff. Even from the point he was a little kid, he was very much... when everyone was like, ooh, blah, blah, so-and-so from school's having a party, he was the one that always would come up with an excuse to not go. And he never wanted to be part of the social setting and, kind of always was snarky about stuff. And, so I identified with him quickly and found a lot of his stories in there really funny. But you've kind of got to have a dark place to enjoy the book. If you're somebody who's super happy-go-lucky, I'm not entirely sure you'll love this book. Because he's kind of negative and snarky, as I pointed out. So I'll put that warning out there for it.
But yeah, I think that's going to be our challenge for the rest of everybody else out there. I like that. Claim your wins.
Yeah.
So claim your wins this week. Post them on Twitter. Post them on Facebook.
Yeah. Better
send
yet.
Send them to us.
There you go. Yep. I was just going to say, send them to us. Put a copy us in the tweet or whatever.
Heck yeah. Share your wins. Claim those things. I mean, if you've done something that you're proud of, shout it from the hills. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's not something illegal, of course. You don't want to shout that out loud.
Yeah, you probably... Not as long as statutes are still in place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wait for those to
right.
expire. But anything that's legal, shout that from the hills, Be proud. Be proud of who you are. Remember when we were kids and we used to run home and we got a gold star in school?
And it's funny because when we were kids and we'd run home and brag up the dumbest stuff that our parents had to pretend they were proud of us for, and now it's the teachers and stuff teach the kids to be proud of the dumb things. And in ways, that's kind of also what we're advocating. We're not quite, I'm not a participation trophy person. But I am very much, listen, if you put in minimal effort and your team won a championship, I mean, you're still part of the team, Yeah. Take your victory.
Take your win.
Yep.
Enjoy it. So, gold stickers for everybody. So, on that note, if you want to contact us, which we would love to hear from you, you can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. You can reach us at our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. Shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And how can they reach you, Brian?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at saltylanguage.com or on Twitter at salty_language. And as always, I want to throw the shout out to our boy Heno for doing the opening song for us. And also remind everybody that, we're not doctors, we're not therapists, we're not professionals of any kind, not trained for this kind of thing. We're just two people who deal with, our own mental illnesses, and this is our story. If you need help, please seek help. Call the suicide hotline number if you're in that place, or, always try to have a friend if you can. If you can't, there's websites like 7 Cups of Tea out there that can help people out that, will just set you up with someone to talk to, basically. Or you can always contact us if you just need someone to talk to. But again, if you need help, please seek help. Go see a doctor, a therapist. Just, don't let it run, depression and mental illness should not be Hulkamania running wild,
Absolutely. And we can't lose any listeners. We're trying to grow our populace,
right?
Not decrease it.
Yeah. And on that note, please tell your friends about us and share, like, when we, put links out there. And again, if you find us on iTunes, Stitcher, subscribe, share wherever you can, and please try to help us out a little bit, because, it's not so much about getting famous with the show or getting tons of listeners as much as you never know, one person that finds us, maybe they won't have that dark spot, and, it'll help them stay away from too dark of a door, You never know, I've said before on my other podcast that I think at times podcasting has saved my life. So you never know.
You never know. Well, have a great week, everyone, and we will be here next week.
See ya.